Doing?
Good morning. I'm doing well.
I hope you wore a jacket this morning. It's cold outside.
I was freezing.
I, I don't like the cold.
Me neither.
And one of our Master Gardener volunteers, Bernie, and Bernie grew up where it was cold and snowy, so it doesn't bother him.
If I
Bernie's
like
tough.
cold and snowy, I'd still be there. I'm here because I like warm.
Yeah, 70s is great. That's my ideal. Cool. 60s is pushing chilly. Below about 50 or so, we're getting into cold territory, and it's okay. But my house was a little bit above freezing, I think about 36 or so this morning. We have a mystery guest joining us today.
Oh my
Hey,
goodness, who is that?
Lily, how are you?
good morning. How are you, everybody? Hi, Colby. Nice to
Hello.
meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
He's like, oh, why did she show up?
Yeah.
No.
Colby, this is Lily. Lily, this is Colby. So we have our current Florida Friendly Landscape Coordinator and our mysterious last coordinator for Florida Friendly.
The last one. No, I mean, I'm not the last one, but the previous.
No. You're not like the last of a long line. The previous one.
Yes. Hey, Bernie.
Why, hello. You ought to be right comfortable being from Pennsylvania and everything.
I love it. This weather is gorgeous. This is what I came down for. That 80s stuff earlier and that muggy stuff, I was like, no, I did not order this. This is great.
This is freezing.
So you're snuggled in for the next 4 or 5 months?
Until the beginning of March. So about 3 months.
Yeah, looks good.
And I know it'll still be winter when we go back there, but we'll survive.
Oh yeah, there's snow up there through March. Up there, the saying April showers bring May flowers. Yeah, it rains
Right.
all April, and it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
nice until May. So
That's okay. We're just gonna go up and check on things, and then maybe move this trailer that we're in maybe across the country a little bit. For now, we are landed in Bushnell, Florida. So,
I'm from Webster. I went to high school in
Okay.
Bushnell. Yeah.
all right. Yep. I pass that all the time to go to the Winn-Dixie
Yep.
because
Yep.
it's go there or Walmart. That's about my only choices.
Yep.
And the post office.
There's I think they got $2 stores there now, and I mean, hey, it's coming up. Bushnell's on the way up.
Of course, every place has $2 stores or more. Yes.
Yeah.
we
There's a
have
Dollar
one on every
Tree.
corner.
There's a Dollar Tree across the street, and then the Dollar General. Yeah, it's down the road a bit. But yeah, I'm across the street from the Walmart. Woohoo!
Buddy missed you.
Oh, hey, buddy.
Corey's confused. Is this an old recording that we're showing?
No, Corey, it's not an old recording.
Yeah, we're not doing anything new. We're just playing the recordings. We got a whole bunch of them. They're good for a couple more runs.
There has never been a recording with Colby and I in the same place at the same
There you
time
go.
until now. That's how you know it's not an old recording.
I could do that with StreamYard here. You can just set up a recording to play live, even though it's a recording.
Yeah. Don't get any ideas, Bill. They like your live interaction.
The flea market in Webster is huge. That is a big affair, and it's been a big affair as long as I've been alive. I remember it's like on a holiday as a kid, you'd get a Monday off, and my siblings and I, we'd get on the bikes and ride and go to the flea market, because it was like, hey, there's never been as many people in Webster at one time is a Monday flea market.
Guess where we were on Monday?
They have the best fresh produce over there. They have a whole
They
row
did.
of vendors.
Several rows. It was beautiful. I almost thought about taking pictures. All the beautiful produce, we got from there. I got these from there.
Right now,
Wow.
it's a pretty perfect time of year to get a good variety of fresh produce from there.
Yes. And we decided to go now because there's no way we're going near it after January, February, when all the rest of the post-Christmas snowbirds come down. And it wasn't bad. It wasn't
It'll
crowded.
get crazy. It'll get crazy. Webster gets like 4 traffic jams a year, and every single one of them is a holiday Monday flea market.
Well, we were debating. I think it's been like 20 years since we've been there. My husband says more like 15 or so. But there was a little restaurant there at that time called the Speckled Butterbean.
Oh, yeah.
And that is now one of Blair Hensley's Florida Cracker Kitchens.
Mm-hmm. It was the farmer's market for a while. There's only that is actually, I think right now, the only sit-down restaurant in Webster. Because there used to be another one across the street, the Hayseed. And then the Hayseed eventually went away. And you had the Butterbean and the Hayseed. Then it was farmer's market restaurant. That is a rabbit hole that I don't think anyone here cares to go down. But it's kind of interesting how all that turned out.
Restaurants of Sumter County.
Yeah.
And then yesterday we were riding around, and it was bound to happen. You can't be in Sumter County and not have this happen. We sort of slipped into the villages. That's. Oh. Yeah, I know. It's going to occur. I was looking for a Christmas tree. In living this nomadic life, what I had in mind was I wanted something small. We only have the car this trip around, so we couldn't move the trailer if we wanted to. The truck's in Pennsylvania, but so it had to be small to begin with. But what I was looking for was a small cedar in a pot, so then I could give it to my daughter who lives in Floral City, has a new home there, to plant. But we went to a tree farm, and they didn't have any in pots. You had to cut them all down, and they were all sand pines anyway, which even if they had any in a pot, I'm like, that's not a great landscape tree. They look like cute little Christmas trees, and they are fast growing. It's a good idea for a business, for a Christmas tree farmer. And tried to go to this other place he sent us, and they were open Thursday through Sunday, and it was Wednesday. And so I ended up at Lowe's, and I didn't want to pay $50 for a little tiny cedar tree. And I ended up with not a blue shore, because that's spreading, a more upright kind of juniper. And I'm like, it's not native, but it'll grow in her yard, at least for 15 years or so. So
you should have gotten a little rosemary.
I was looking at those rosemaries. I was very, but they weren't really priced the way I like them either. But I noticed even after I had cleaned up for the day and stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, I still had to smell the rosemary. It was like I wanted to go back and rub my hands on it again.
Because I thought about hitting the stores like right before Christmas or right after, when they have everything marked down, because it's an actual rosemary. They don't naturally grow like a pine tree. They
no
like that.
Right. But they would do great in your yard.
Yep.
Oh, they had plenty of Norfolk Island pines.
Oh yeah, I would see them.
In good conscience, give that to my daughter. Here, plant this in your yard.
Let me know how it works out in about 15 years.
Yeah, when it's the tallest tree in the neighborhood and pencil thin and falls over on your house. if it lives through freeze. I'm sorry.
Pull off by the side of the road, just chop the top part off a sand pine for a Christmas tree.
Okay.
As long as nobody catches you.
Yes. Now I wanted a living Christmas tree that will continue to, So it's, maybe 3 feet tall. There's a picture on my Facebook outside my steps. Our neighbor next to us is like, "Oh, I like your tree," and I didn't know if he was being sarcastic or not. He's from Canada, so I don't think they're capable of being sarcastic. But so they're too nice. Maybe he really did like it.
Well, hey guys, for anybody watching us live, if you have any lawn and garden questions, please feel free to ask them. Go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll give it our very best shot to kind of answer your question or point you in the right direction or help you out. If you're watching a recording of this broadcast, go ahead and I'm going to show everybody's email at the end. Usually the best way to ask me a question is by email and send lots of pictures, because that makes it a lot easier to answer the question. Sometimes only one picture doesn't help a whole lot. Really blurry or vague pictures, they don't really help a whole lot. Bernie and I looked at one this morning. It's like, what do you think this is? It's like, I don't know. I can't tell from the picture.
Mm-hmm.
So lots of pictures makes it a lot easier for us.
Do you know what else I could have bought a lot of in pots at the big box store? Spruces. Spruces and fir trees. Like, why are you selling these as in pots? Like, people could plant them. I mean, you can plant them. It's physically possible to plant them.
When you're done. Beautiful tree.
A spruce tree's not going to grow very well in Florida.
They're going to be really upset. A couple of weeks ago, we had a question on whether or not you can grow coffee in Florida. And Colby and I really didn't have the answer, and Bill was off of convention someplace.
And I couldn't have helped you out much.
No, well, we pretty well ducked it and said that probably could grow it, but we didn't know what would happen. So I did a little research, and it turns out that the university has a publication on growing coffee, goes into great detail, explains everything there is to know about how to grow the coffee, what you need in soil type, how to prepare the beans and everything. And
do you need a donkey?
But it didn't say whether the coffee would come out good. And it turns out that the researchers at the university wondered the same thing. Can you grow coffee in Florida that's going to be worth drinking? So at the present time, there's some research going on. They got 150 coffee plants, Arabica, and I don't remember the other one, Protesta or something like that. And anyway, these plants are spread out in 3 locations. They've got 50 growing in Citra, which is just south of Gainesville, and they've got some growing in a couple of other locations. The problem growing coffee is that it has a very unique temperature requirement. It is not happy at all above 80 degrees, and yet it doesn't want anything below 50 degrees. So with such a really narrow range of temperature, you either need to be able to get the trees reacclimated to grow someplace else, or you're not going to end up with decent coffee. And the reason that so many of these things are grown tropically is that you go to a tropical climate and it's going to be 95 degrees every day. Well, the coffee isn't going to be happy there at all. But you go up on a mountain and the temperature goes down. Well, eventually you find the exact spot that it likes. This spot will be 82 degrees maximum every day. And at night, because it's in the tropics, it only cools down to 50 degrees. The plant is really, really happy. So we know how to grow it really well, and we know what kind of plants to grow if we have that kind of climate. Unfortunately, we don't have that climate. So the answer that the person wanted is, yes, you can grow coffee here, probably. And in another year after this research is finished, we'll know whether you can grow happy coffee plants here. And maybe eventually we can find a new location. Maybe Florida will turn out to be a great place to grow coffee. And all those things that used to be orange groves might become coffee plantations. At least that would be nicer than have them turn into house plantations.
They are. I was going to say it's too late. They're already full of houses.
Yeah, drive through Claremont and you'll see it.
Yep.
Exactly. So with the coffee plants, if they have those very specific temperature requirements, that sounds a lot like the temperature I keep my house. So could I grow them inside if they had access to light?
You can. That they were successful. They heated air-conditioned greenhouse that they grew coffee plants in, and that worked. But like I say, it becomes a problem in what about, if you go in southern Florida, where you're not going to have to worry about frost. Will the plants produce decent beans? The higher temperatures you're going to get and the higher humidities that they're not used to may dramatically affect the quality of the coffee. There's no sense growing it if when you're all done, all you can do is throw the beans away. So the coffee plants that we have, the native wild coffee, really is not in the coffee family. It's just a name. It's not really
it has my favorite Latin coffee name. That one has my favorite Latin name.
And tell us.
Yeah, see now. Psychosa nervosa.
Yes.
Psychosa nervosa is the name of the native coffee plant. That might give you a hint as to you don't want to try to make coffee.
Your favorite would be Ilex vomitoria.
Yeah,
that's a good
which
one.
They're making tea from now. I know that they're growing a specific variety of that holly bush and growing it specifically for making tea from. Apparently, if you drink some, it's very, very good. If you drink too much, it's going to make you sick. So.
Right. Apparently, it was used, among the ancient peoples as a, like a syrup of ipecac. If you needed to bring something up, they would give you that. But apparently, in smaller doses, it's supposed to be good for you. I'm not going to go out and
needed that,
eat.
Though.
I'm not going to go out and eat any dwarf Yopon holly to test that theory out.
There's a lot of plants outside. Just because you can eat them doesn't mean I'm going to eat them. So we got
Sparkleberry. That's what
weeds and this and that. Many things are safe to eat, but it doesn't mean that you want to eat them.
I mean, you could probably eat a cardboard box, and it's not going to do anything that bad to you. So
high fiber. So
air potatoes are not harmful to eat. The problem is they're not palatable to eat. And I know that, years ago when we were trying to figure out ways to get rid of the air potato before we met the Beatles, at the Chinsegut Conservation Center, a group of people there tried everything they could in different ways, because they do a lot of those edible plant classes, to experiment with this air potato to do something to it to make it edible. And I know they weren't successful. It is edible. It's not palatable. So if it could be, that would be great. I would still think you could do something maybe non-edible, like make a starch out of it that could still be usable in some way.
Well, you can use acorns to make a type of flour, but you have to process them just right. And it probably doesn't taste very good even when you're done. So Native Americans did it. So
the coffee thing kind of reminds me of, there was a time when we thought we couldn't grow olives in Florida, and now there are people, in Hernando County, there are people growing olives, doing well, and even overcoming the obstacles. I mean, you can't just pick an olive off of a tree and eat it. You have to go process it, and they're making that happen too. So, I mean, that's experimentation is what makes the world go round. So,
University of Florida has plant breeders and researchers that look at all different crops and try to think like, can we grow this here in Florida? I don't know. Let's find out. So Bernie talked about coffee. Another one that we have a question here from Honeybee in Shady Hills, I think she mentioned earlier, about vanilla bean orchids. Yes, we have researchers with UF looking at because vanilla comes from vanilla beans, which comes from an orchid, which grows in the tropics, but they're looking at all the different vanilla orchid varieties they can find and trying to figure out which ones are going to grow where in Florida, which ones grow well, which ones don't. And,
Don't you
it
have
just so
classes on that?
happened that we did a class on that a
I was
while
going to say, don't you have classes on that on YouTube?
That's one of our best watched ones. We have another class from strawberry breeder Dr. Whitaker on growing strawberries. We have one from Dr. Maru on growing calabasa, which is another. Calabasa is a big winter squash, but it's tropical. And he's working on growing it commercially here in Florida, looking at different varieties and things like that. So let me go ahead and find, oh, here we go. So, Honeybee, if you look online and you go to YouTube and the little search box on YouTube, go to Hernando County Government, you're going to find their YouTube channel. If you look under the channels on it, you're going to find one for Hernando County Extension, and there's a class there for growing vanilla. So you can learn from the experts how to grow vanilla. You can grow it here. You cannot let it freeze, though. So you're going to have to keep it warm, which isn't easy some days. But the rest of the year, yeah, it can grow very well. It's pretty cool because it's an orchid that grows as a vine, and it'll grow like naturally in the forest way up into trees and flower way up there. You can grow it along the top of a fence because the vine has to grow a certain length before it will flower and give you pods. If it grows way up into a tree, now you got to get up to it up in the tree, and that might not be that easy. If you get tricky and grow it horizontally really long, eventually it gets long enough where in theory it's going to flower and give you pods. It's one of those things I need to try growing in my free time.
A lot of the things that go around the internet and Facebook, and we know how some of those things go, act like you can take any piece of anything that you got from the grocery store and plant it and grow that thing. Like it's just, that easy. And we know things are not that easy. A lot of times the grocery store have sprayed it with some kind of growth inhibitor for one thing. And the other is, we may not be in the area. It's probably a cloned thing to begin with. So the seed, who knows what you're going to get. And we may not be in an area where you can grow that. I just had a Facebook friend, from church. He posted something about grape seeds. Like somebody showed, oh, look, you can just put these grape seeds in, any kind of pot and just grow them. And I didn't say anything on Facebook, but I walked by him in church and I just said, you can only grow muscadines in Florida. You're not going to grow. And he goes, yeah, I did. I found that out. I said, if those seeds even grow, there's Pearson's disease. There's all sorts of issues. So I can't believe it.
And it takes forever for those things to grow from seed. You better be very, very patient because it's going to take a number of years for it to get big enough to give you more grapes if you start with the muscadine to begin with.
Right.
My uncle out in Linden, he tried for so long to grow grapes to make wine, and he just I know that he eventually did get, because he was not growing muscadines. I don't remember what he was growing, but he did eventually get grapes off of it. But I mean, I could tell just when we drove by that there was never that many. There was never that. It was never like a beautiful, really, really luscious plant that he was messing with.
Well, there are different varieties in the muscadine family that they give different names and stuff too, and then they crossbreed them and all that. But fighting the birds for them is going to be one of your issues. And I learned something just a couple years ago. I assumed I never saw any grapes on wild grapevine because I assumed the animals got them first. But then I learned that like 90% of the wild grapevine is male.
Yeah.
So they're not going to have grapes. So I never realized that, even me growing up in Florida.
If you go hiking a lot and you're very observant, you can find some of the large female old muscadine vines that actually have fruit on them. You don't see it very often now, but they're out there. But we got a couple of questions in here, guys. Can we identify grapevines by the shape of the leaves? Yep. Yeah, grapes have a pretty distinctive leaf shape. So you can tell the difference between grapes and air potato
Oh yeah.
and a lot of other viney weeds.
Virginia creeper, yeah.
Poison ivy, things like that.
Yes.
But you can't identify varieties.
Yeah, you have to actually let them grow, get the grapes, and even then, try your best to figure out the variety based on taste and color and things like that. Honeybee wants to know where around here you can get quality, well-composted garden soil by the truckload or trailer load. Somebody mentioned it up here earlier. What's the name of the place where our master gardeners get theirs?
The dirt place.
Yeah, the dirt place. I thought Corey mentioned it.
Probably. Corey knows all that stuff.
Yeah. Contact our office. I'll show the phone number in a little bit. We do have it's on, gosh, I can't even remember the name of the street. It's right behind Sherwood Florist.
Okay.
Where they're on Northcliffe. At Northcliffe and Mariner.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see Sherwood Florist. Right behind them is a nursery. And that's where our master gardeners get their truckloads of soil from. So
it says the comment says Hildreth's.
Hildreth's, that's it. So we go to Hildreth's, which, like I said, is right there by Northcliffe and Mariner and Spring Hill. You could look them up online. They're good people. Our master gardeners are happy with their soil, but you want to take a close look at it and make sure it's what you're looking for, basically. Because compost is going to be a little bit different from potting soil, which is different from seed starting mix. They're all different.
Which is all different than whatever it is you get from the transfer stations and landfill.
Yeah, that stuff's a little rough.
Yeah. That needs to compost a while after you get it. Yes.
Paige has a question about sycamore trees. And I had to look up some information on them a while back. I got a picture from one. So I learned a little bit about sycamores. She says one of them had surge flooding from Hurricane Idalia of a few inches of Gulf water for a few hours. A week later, all the leaves fell off and no signs of life ever since. I put gypsum pellets down, heard it helps salinity in the soil. What else can be done? Do I wait till spring to see if it comes back? Other tree wasn't flooded and it's just starting to lose its leaves now, months later. I got a whole bunch of different comments on that. So I'll start. Barney, I know that you deal with sycamore trees, so I'll let you jump in after that. Sycamores can grow in Central Florida. They don't do really, really well here. They like it, I believe, where it's a little bit wet. Mm-hmm. So a lot of our areas here are very dry. What happens to sycamores is they'll get dry. We're kind of at the edge of where they're going to grow. They can get unhappy. They can get a whole series of different problems that when you put all those little problems together, ends up with a very unhealthy, unthrifty, and then eventually prematurely dead sycamore tree. So even though we can grow them here, not always necessarily the best choice.
They're growing right outside of Colby's window. He gets to look at them
every
day. And they're huge. I mean, that's the second floor, which in a normal building would be more like the third or fourth floor. And they grow pretty tall, but that is an area where water collects.
Yeah, so they can be problematic here depending on exactly where you have them growing. If it got surge flooding from Hurricane Idalia, that means it sat in salt water. That kills a lot of plants. Other plants are able to withstand it. I have no idea if sycamores are salt tolerant. Probably not, is my guess. But I'm not going to swear to that.
I don't remember ever really seeing them along the coast.
After Hurricane Idalia, because Hernando Beach here in Hernando County got flooded so badly, the Gulf of Mexico came up, flooded everybody's yard, water went away pretty quickly. I was wondering, gosh, I wonder if that kills St. Augustine grass? How about Bahia? How about, landscape material? What is salt tolerant? What is not? There's not a whole lot of information out there on that. There really isn't. So I'm probably going to have to organize writing and creating some of it in time for the next hurricane, because there's always going to be another one.
Just take a ride, Bill. Go see what's alive and what's not.
Sure. Well, that probably would be pretty insightful. Just drive up and Crystal River. Those poor people, the water came in and everybody's yard was flooded.
Yes.
A lot of houses were flooded, but you see the house and a ring of grass around it. And other than that, the street, the rest of the yard, everything else was flooded.
Mm-hmm.
So putting down gypsum pellets, that in theory can work with flooding, but it doesn't work really well because that's a chemistry question. The gypsum binds with the salt and allows you, if you water the heck out of things, to wash the salt away deeper into the soil where it's no longer a problem. And you'll find information online about applying gypsum. Doesn't work well here in Florida. Generally not recommended either. What else can be done? Not a whole lot. I mean, it got flooded with salt water. Sometimes watering extra will help to wash the salt away. But if you water when it's not your irrigation day or watering day here in Hernando County, you run the risk of getting a ticket because they do that now. Do I wait until spring to see if it comes back? You probably want to. Give it a fair chance. Give it a chance until spring and see if it leaves out. Sycamores are the first trees to lose their leaves in the fall and the very last one to get them back in the spring. I lived in a house that had one. The leaves are great for compost. Oh my gosh, the backyard would be like knee deep in these gargantuan leaves. Mm-hmm. Grind them up with a lawnmower, makes great compost. But every year I'm looking at it like, I think that tree is dead. It's the middle of spring. Everything else is growing. And then it will flush out and we get more leaves on it. So sycamores are funny.
Hawks love them.
Yeah, they can get really big. Hawks and wildlife love them. They get the little balls,
mm-hmm.
the seed balls that fall off of them. And that's probably a lot more than you were looking to learn about sycamores. But
the wind gets to blowing, and I hear them bouncing off the roof all the time.
Yep.
Over here.
Yeah. Because there's a nice metal roof there that really amplifies the sound.
Everything. The rain. You about can't hear yourself think.
Building alone on a weekend or in the evening. That building makes way too many noises for you to want to be there alone.
Yeah, apparently you got squirrels that are living in the place too. So that's just
we have gotten rid of all the squirrels, to my knowledge. We have not seen or heard any squirrels. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe a month ago we had we ended up catching I think like 4 squirrels that were in the walls. They had to cut access panels in the drywall above my desk and ended up getting them all out.
That room that you're sitting in, me and a few of the other guys. Well, they were doing most of the chasing. I was just watching them. There was a squirrel in the building, and then we blocked them in the room that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
And they were trying to throw a jacket on it and all kind of things to catch it. And then it actually worked. They got the idea to open the doors by the hall and then down those steps and outside and then chase the thing outside.
They had a pool net that they got from animal control trying to get it this last time. It was certainly an event.
Things are still pretty squirrely around there then.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't use a 12 gauge.
Me too.
Well, as long as it doesn't turn out like Christmas Vacation, I guess you're okay.
Yes. Came out of the tree. Wow. The poor thing, I thought it was going to have a heart attack. The way that they were chasing it around the room. It was literally that background behind you.
Mm-hmm.
It was crawling up all over it and hiding.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Okay, getting back to salt water, it says that it killed the rye and the finer grasses. The weeds are fighting the grass left. So, there's always weeds that are going to survive any level of salt. And
Oh,
there
yeah.
are a lot of plants that tolerate salt water flooding
Whatever
or
happened to
saltwater
seashore
mist pretty well.
Whatever happened to seashore paspalum grass that was supposed to be the beach grass to have?
Nobody grows it. I don't know
Do
if
you
I've
know
ever
anything,
seen it
Gordy?
growing.
I have the textbook they put out, and according to the book, it's the absolute world's greatest grass. According to Jim Mall, when they actually put it out in the field, it was the greatest grass in the whole world for the first couple of years, and then it deteriorated like mad and was very, very troublesome. Did not turn out to be a long-term viable thing. But the initial, it's the same thing. Floratam, when it was originally introduced, one of its big things was that it was chinch bug resistant. And it was chinch bug resistant for about the first 5 years that it was out. And then after that, either something mysteriously happened to the grass or the chinch bugs got smarter or something. But,
No, they evolve
you
for
know,
sure.
They do. It's called
Mhm.
breaking resistance. It always happens eventually.
so like so many things, I think what happened with seashore paspalum was that under very, very ideal conditions, it was a good grass. In most actual applications, it was mediocre to bad. So,
But it would tolerate salt water. You could
but it
literally
would tolerate
water it with
salt
salt
water.
water.
The weed control on seashore paspalum was to spray it with salt water.
Bill, remember the wild St. Augustine grass we found right in Bayport, right on the shore?
Yeah, and that would have at least occasionally gotten washed over with salt water.
Yeah, because
And
it
it
was
looked great.
definitely, yeah, but it was not Floratam. It wasn't anything. It was literally wild St. Augustine grass. And I would tell this story a lot that it looked fantastic. And it was where the high tide would, come and cover it up. But it was also about, what, 1.5 feet tall?
Yeah, it was really tall.
Yeah.
And looked
So
perfect.
you take something like that, there is native St. Augustine grass, but everything they have done to it, it can't be called native by any way, shape, or form. They tried to take that seaside grass that is supposed to grow tall and be in somewhat of shade, and manipulate it to the point where, and trying to make a meadow grass out of it that people want to grow this tall.
2.5 inches high. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Work out well.
Yeah, didn't work out that great.
We have a question from, I think, a new listener here, or a new viewer, somebody who's never asked a question before. Pankaj has yellow passion fruit vine and is flowering and fruiting a lot. Are they able to ripen? I'm in Central Florida. Yep. Yes, sometimes it takes a little while. And different types of passion fruit, some of them are going to give you a lot of fruit. The really common one, the maypop, the purple and yellow one that grows fairly wild. I believe it's a native plant here.
It is.
It will give you fruit also, just not a whole lot of them. Or at least I have it growing in my yard. I always see a couple fruit every year, but not a whole lot.
It's Passiflora something.
Yes. And
yeah, the purple passion fruit.
We're going to have a class on that this summer where people get 3 passion fruit vines. I was looking up the other night what AgriStarts has to offer. And the most productive one is going to be the purple passion fruit vine, because that has just a purely purple flower. Caterpillars won't eat it, and it gets the best fruit.
No, that's not fun.
They grow passion fruit in South Florida down in Homestead, but I'm not sure what variety they grow there. But yeah, as long as they ripen up before we get hard freezes, if you're going to get a hard freeze where you live, that works. People here in Central Florida do grow it.
Oh, passion fruit, yeah. The native purple passion fruit, there are those who might call it a bit aggressive. So, but it's native. So what is it, Bernie?
What's that?
If it's a
What's
native, yeah, and a native aggressive plant is
It's
not invasive.
pioneering.
It's pioneering. That's right.
Mhm. Sure.
Yes.
It's a pain, just like everything else. Spray it.
Yeah, just because it grows really well doesn't mean it's
Passion
invasive.
vine, you'll get passion vine will bring you, not the kind that Bill was talking about if your goal is to make passion fruit, but your native passion vine, which may sometimes give you a fruit, will also always bring you your Gulf fritillary and your zebra long-winged butterflies. So well worth having.
But there is the one passion vine that the caterpillars will not eat. I believe it's the pure purple one.
Oh, it's
Or
red.
red. Maybe the red,
Red
one.
one.
Red,
Yeah.
not the purple. They're all over the purple.
I have grown the purple one, I don't know, 10 times. And I have never had the second year of the purple passion fruit. I've had those things get 8 feet long, 12 feet long. And this caterpillars, who I love caterpillars because they produce those beautiful butterflies, they come in and strip
Sarcasm
this
in his
thing.
tone.
I'm not being facetious, obviously. You can tell by my voice. But anyway, I am just I cannot believe that anybody has ever been successful with those things. I have planted and planted and planted, and I can't get them big enough that the caterpillars don't come in and totally wipe them out.
You know how big I could get them when I had a yard in Florida? About this big.
You too.
Because I had a gopher tortoise, and apparently they really love them. So he would come over and eat it every time he got this big. So I just had to be like, okay, well, it's that wildlife that I'm helping right now. So,
I like
It went to a good cause.
yes. Now, when I lived more in Brooksville itself, in 34601 Brooksville, I grew it like crazy. But out further, closer to 19 in the Sandhills, the gopher tortoise was like, wow, this is great. Thanks. So.
And with the follow-up comment here, yes, I believe the yellow passion vine is at least somewhat tropical, so it's going to prefer warmer temperatures. But keep in mind, depending on exactly where you live and how cold it gets to your yard, we have winters where it doesn't get really cold, or if it does, only for a day or maybe two at a time, and you can still grow some fairly tropical things here. But Sam asks about, can we grow kiwi in Central Florida?
Mm-mm.
I don't think so. They
They're
sell it, and they say that you can. Well, there's kiwi that's rated for Zone 9, and parts of Florida are Zone 9A and 9B. So is Texas. So is California, and we are nothing at all like California.
well, if I remember correctly, those like the kiwis, like it can't get hot at all. Like it's not like for the good kiwis, like the kind you'd buy in the store. It can't get hot, and they're normally growing in like the mountains and stuff, like really high, thousands of feet in elevation. We are at this many feet of elevation. Most of Florida is at or below sea level, so you're not. I would say kiwi is probably not a good choice here.
Yeah, even though you might look at a catalog, and if you're just looking at the zone, you think, hey, that's my zone, or pretty close to it. It should do well here. I've never known anybody to be successful with kiwi, and I'm sure plenty of people have tried.
It's like what Bernie always says. There's that one guy that's gonna make you feel like a dummy.
Yeah.
I grew Concord grapes and apples. I know it can,
If
are
you
great.
want something and you don't have to spend a lot of money to try it, then to me, that's the essence of gardening.
Yeah.
I tried it, it didn't work. Or I tried it and I was successful. Well, the thing about it is, the key on all that is I tried it. And I think that, if you're spending insignificant money, you should try all that stuff. If you can't grow kiwi, don't pay any attention to us. If you can buy a plant for $5, find out. That makes good sense. what doesn't make good sense is the people that spend hundreds of dollars for a plant that shouldn't be here, and then cry
Thousands.
about it that fall over
Thousands.
dead. And the first time we get to 100 degrees, or the first time it freezes, you know, the experimentation is really important. And it doesn't make any difference how many people have tried and failed. There's going to be somebody come along and be successful and spoil it for everybody. It's like growing icicles. Obviously, you can't grow icicles here. You got to go someplace where it stays cold all the time. Well,
Pennsylvania.
Some idiot's going to come along, doesn't know that, and he's going to start growing icicles. And you really feel strange when that happens. You tell the guy, no, lime trees don't do well here. Well, my neighbor just gave me 4 bushel that he's been getting off his lime tree for the past 38 years. So
yes,
you obviously don't know what you're talking about.
Same thing with apples. I guarantee you there's probably 3 people in all of Central Florida that are very successful with apples, and that's it. Nobody else is. So if you really think that you could be number 4, go for it. Just know that
Don't hold your breath.
very few people are successful with them.
I'm looking out my front porch for my video camera. There's no snow. I don't know how cold it is there, but there's no snow right now in Pennsylvania.
When Dr. Strickland had your job, Bill, he went to the home of one of the well-known restaurant people here. Person that in a restaurant business has a foreign restaurant. And the gentleman lived fairly well off the road. You'd never expect, yes, exactly. You'd never expect to
I know all about these stories.
And they had all these Mediterranean plants. They had things growing that absolutely should not have been growing here. And it wasn't 1 or 2, it was dozens. So, there's got to be an explanation for it. And the explanation is that his particular situation is very, very, very shielded. He's like in the middle of a forest, there's a cleared area, and they've got these plants growing. And apparently there's an underground spring or something that warms it. And,
there are springs in that area.
And there are birds that come by and eat all the bad things that would attack these plants. But for whatever reason, there is a man that has done all these things that we would have told him absolutely no, you can't grow those plants. And we couldn't grow them. The truth is they shouldn't be here. But there's always that one.
Yeah.
Sure. And they're a little bit, they might be 100 feet above sea level because they're in a hilly area. So, and probably at one time we're surrounded by orange groves. Maybe there's still some old dead orange groves around there. And you're right, the microclimate was just perfect. But yeah, growing all this. So that's, I always say people get intimidated by the term master gardener. Bernie's a master gardener. And, thinking they could never do that. All the term, the master has failed more times than the novice has ever tried. That's all that term means. So,
Yeah, I still kill lots of plants.
I really do believe people should spend, they call and they say, what about buying citrus? Now, well, the truth is citrus is a lousy deal in Florida. There's an insect out there trying to kill it. Should you buy a $5 citrus tree and plant it in your yard? Absolutely. Should you buy a $100 citrus tree and plant it in your yard? Not unless you're a complete idiot. It's a matter of degree. And
I missed you, Bernie.
Yeah. Well, that's the way I feel about it.
Or $1,000
in a ridiculous manner. And a ridiculous manner is spending a bunch of money on something that is really destined to fail.
Even if it will grow here, if you plant it wrong, then you're going to have issues as well.
Yeah.
And if you manage it incorrectly, it will not do well.
And it's amazing how many of these commercial people will come out and plant your new plant absolutely wrong
Oh yeah.
and give you really bad advice. And it's like the people that tell you to water every day for 2 months when you put down new sod, and then you can go on regular. So after 2 months, you shut all the water off. That plant gets hysterical. Here's your sod that has had all the water it could ever use, and then it goes.
I'm going to drive by and see hysterical lawns now.
Yeah,
It's
you can hear them. The ones that sound like they're sucking, they look green, but they're making that noise. You know,
Bernie the lawn whisperer.
no, well, it's when you talk about that you'll pay those people to come out and do stuff. I couldn't tell you how many times I'll see a tree that got planted and then they got mulch going a foot up the trunk of the tree, and it's like, come on.
The thing about it, citrus trees, if you plant them 2 inches different from what they were in the pot, you have a real high probability the roots will circle and the plant will die. So 2 inches.
Mm-hmm.
And
palm trees, oak trees, any other kind of tree, if you plant them just a few inches too deep, they will die 3 years down the road. And it confuses everybody because it looked great until just yesterday, and overnight it died. And then trying to explain to them when you got to look at it, and you could see that it was buried way too deep 3 years earlier. Trying to explain that to people that it's a mistake somebody made 3 years ago that did it. People understand, but it's a little confusing.
If you ever watch any of the Lord of the Rings movies or read any of the books, trees move in a, different, they're not on our time frame. They move so extraordinarily slow.
They follow a slow calendar.
Yes, exactly. And, in a way we can't even comprehend. So they do in those fictional trees, but real trees do the same thing. And what looks like a tree died overnight, no, it spent 5 years dying. They're just so stoic. I mean, we give the term, someone who's stoic, they're like an oak. Well, yeah, they're not going to tell you there's a problem until blah. Hey, my tree's dead. Yeah.
So Angela here, I'm sorry, inherited 2 apple tree saplings with their house, and they have struggled. Yeah, that's the problem. They struggle, especially during the summer. The heat, humidity, diseases, they really, really struggle. And they're going to dig them up and replace them. There are, wherever you live, there's varieties of peaches, plums, nectarines that are going to do well. You just have to find the right variety based on where in Florida you live. And they're going to give the apples to family in more northern states. So that's very nice of them.
Yes.
Finding fruit trees that are going to do well right where you live is very important.
what are the legal ramifications of actually moving a tree from Florida to another state?
Good point, Bernie.
I would think that really shouldn't be allowed. The problem is you're going to transfer something from Florida to the new state, and that's not going to end up being good for the new state.
Yeah,
there are very strong restrictions on citrus, obviously, and there's the plant inspection stations along 19, I-75, in and out of Florida.
They're not going to know if you have little tiny apple seedlings in your car, but also you got to consider, are you taking some kind of disease, that might go crazy in Connecticut or wherever it is you're going to take it.
I mean, they let people go back and forth pretty easily, so
yes,
and they carry all kinds of nasty stuff.
Campers, RVs, they all take caterpillars, insects, all kinds of stuff. As a general rule, invasive organisms have a tougher time going from Florida to up north, especially during the winter, than from up north down here to Florida.
Except for stink bugs. I didn't even think I even saw any in my house, but I had one on my suitcase when I got here. Those brown marmalade, whatever, the marmorated stink bugs. And I've seen other northern relatives bring them to Florida. They like fall out of their car, and apparently they're not taking hold here. So
I mean, the last I heard, they found a population of them over in Lake County, and we probably have them here. Just don't have a really clear idea of exactly where.
well, I killed it and threw it away, and then I thought, oh, Bill probably wanted you.
Yeah, I would take definitely a better looking sample.
Yeah.
Oh, do we still have the firewood restriction?
Oh yeah, I think
Yes,
that's
always recommended. Don't be carrying firewood
more
long
than
distances
25
for camping or
miles.
fires. Or,
Yeah, from your home or from where you got the wood. They don't want you to take it more than 25 miles.
Nobody knows that. It's one.
I didn't know that.
Oh, there's a whole website. What's it called, Bill?
don't move that firewood.
Don't move firewood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. They do a real good job on the website. Lots of resources.
It's kind of similar if you have a boat and you go, you're riding your boat and you put your trailer in on the boat ramp and you pull it out and you have all kinds of vegetation and whatnot all attached to the prop on your boat or your boat trailer. You really should, when you're at the boat ramp, park it and pull all that off before you take it home or before you take it and put it in somewhere else. I know people that have lake topped and it's like you're cross-contaminating all kinds of different stuff from each of these lakes. And like aquatic invasive plants are really, really, really problematic. So you really got to be careful.
That's how they get spread. We do a really good job with that.
Yeah, they had a situation where a bug showed up in North Carolina and started munching on trees. And then they had another place where it showed up. And it was kind of awkward to explain why there was a big gap in the coverage. And then it showed up again. And it showed up somewhere else. And it's in these little pockets initially. And it took them a while to finally figure out that it was football games that were causing the problem. And it was every time the University of North Carolina played a football team, everybody would get in their RVs and they would go down and they would take their firewood and they'd have their big fire rallies and their cookouts and everything. And now we have that bug in a new spot. And it turned out that it followed the football schedule. Here. And that was when we got the law on transporting firewood. So I thought that was kind of neat. And it something like that, nobody would ever expect it. And we don't make those things really common knowledge.
They think, well, I'm burning the wood, there shouldn't be a problem. But while you're transporting and storing, you're moving the insects around.
Mm-hmm. And humans are 95+% of the vectors of invasive species.
Humans are the biggest invasive species.
Yeah, and we've been bringing stuff where it doesn't belong for thousands of years at this point.
Oh, yeah.
So
from the second we could move from one place to the other, we were.
So, you really gotta be conscious of it now, especially now when we know when it's a little bit easier for us to track the effects now than it was a couple hundred years ago. Maybe we should pay attention when we're doing things like transporting firewood or pulling our boat out of the boat ramp or what have you. Try to be a little more conscious.
You need to scrub that trailer down before you take it back up to Pennsylvania.
Nah, just pull all the hydrilla off at the very least.
Pick the bugs off.
Well, we don't have hydrilla on my trailer. We're we're not over in the pond over there, but there could be something. Everyone's moving around, always transporting something. Nobody, pressure washes the bottom of their whatever vehicle they're trailering.
Well, the nice thing about the occasional freeze that we get here is that because it doesn't happen that often, it really gets rid of a lot of problem things. And, if you've got a weed problem and we get one of those freezes, you get an opportunity to start over. It cleans it up. And now you've got a blank canvas the first of the year. You can go out and you can do some weed control pre-emergent, and you can get ahead of it. So as long as we don't get these freezes, it's very difficult to do much with the insects. It's very difficult to do much with the weeds. But that's nature's gift to Floridians if you realize what it's good for.
Well, central and northern Floridians, anyway. Yes.
Yeah.
I always appreciated it because it helped me clean up my yard every year.
Yeah, I would go out and you had frost in the morning, and by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, there's black things out there in the yard. Oh, it got rid of all those weeds. I love it.
Yeah.
So, this is unbelievable. This was a really quick hour session. It's hard to believe that it went that fast. So, you get to talking among friends, and it really, they didn't even have to pay me for this. Come think of it, they don't pay me for this.
We're not paying you, are we?
Let's see.
No.
Half of this panel is getting paid to be here today.
Yeah,
The other half of us are just like we're addicted or something.
doing it out of the goodness of your heart. Thank you, guys.
It's because
we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for this week. We've been here for about an hour or so. Thank you, Colby. Thank you, Bernie. And thank you so much there, Lilly, mystery guest. We'll have to have you back on here again more often.
I'm usually available.
I thought about having someday you on and Jamie Lynn, our local tree expert, after you're back up in Pennsylvania, to talk about all the trees that grow great up north and don't grow well in Florida.
That would be cool. You know what I'm going to be taking starting in it's January through February, a little course to be a certified tree tender.
Get out of here, really?
From Penn State. Yeah, tree tender, like chicken tender. Tree tender.
Do they teach you how to use a chainsaw?
They might, but it's an online course. So.
Oh, okay.
I would not trust it. If you don't know how to work a chainsaw, do not trust the online course telling you how to work a chainsaw.
I know how to work a chainsaw. I know how to work a chainsaw. Henry, will you please go?
I'll show you.
But it's like 8 courses, and it is for professionals, but they say it's also for anybody. And they kind of want you then, if you're a certified tree tender, they want you to like start promoting the urban forest wherever you live. Okay. Which I might do that. But I also saw it as a great opportunity to learn about Pennsylvania trees. So that's the main reason that I'm doing that. So that would be cool. Yeah, you could say, yeah, you're used to these trees that grow up north, serviceberry, all whatever, but now you're in Florida. Yeah, we could go back and forth.
Yeah, no. So I'm keeping that. I'm keeping that on the list here. So, and I'm also going to dig up the Don't Move Firewood website and put that on.
You can just Google that, Colby. It's really cool.
Yeah. Well, I'll definitely do that. It seems I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah,
I forgot to put that in the novel I wrote you. But
yeah. Like I said, we'll have Lilly back again sometime. So, hey, everybody, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to see you, buddy. Yes. And Bassam and everybody, yes. And Lori. I saw a bunch of people. Yeah.
And thanks for all the questions.
Of course, Corey. Always Corey.
Corey was on here earlier.
Yeah. Oh, he and I keep up with each other anyway. I usually know what he's doing through Facebook. So...
We will be back here again next week. Let me double check. Oh, yeah, I'll be here next week. So we'll be back next week for more of your questions and lawn and garden problems. Like I said, if you have any other questions, please feel free to email us, reach out to us. I already showed those a little bit earlier. Or come back and join us again next week. 10 a.m. Thursday mornings, and we'll be here to help answer your lawn and garden questions. So thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.
Good to see everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.